Hello and welcome to our peer community for inclusion professionals. I'm so happy to see some familiar faces and some familiar names in the participant window. Thank you to everyone who joined our pre-conference gathering last week and our session yesterday with Rabbi Lappi from Svara. For those of you that are joining this community for the first time, welcome. My name is Mackenzie Adams, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Sheva Center at JCC Association. I'm an Asian American woman with brown hair and brown eyes, and today I'm wearing a black sweater and glasses. I'm joining you from Los Angeles, California, acknowledging with great gratitude the traditional stewards of this land, the Gabrielino Tongva, the Kizh, the Chumash, and the many indigenous people who made their homes here in what is now called Los Angeles. Thank you so much for making the time in your regular work schedule to be with us today. Joining me from JCC Association is Lorraine Macklin, our senior graphic designer. We want you to feel at home here, to add your thoughts and strength to this community. We will add the JCC Association inclusion statement now in the chat, and our names appear as hosts at the top of your participant list. So please feel free to be in contact with us through the chat to address any needs or questions throughout the session. We invite you to rename your Zoom tile with your name, agency, and adding your personal pronouns. Please note that the session is currently being recorded. If you're comfortable, we encourage you to stay visible so we can all feel like we're in this strange virtual space together, but we completely understand that someone might not wish to be recorded. So if that's the case, please feel free to turn off your camera now. We also have closed captioning available to all at the bottom of your screen. And if you can't see it right away, please click the live transcript button at the bottom to enable it. You also have the option to move the position of the captions on your screen or remove them completely. We look forward to this professional conference being a launching point to an ongoing learning community for this group. We have an exciting session ahead. We'll hear from our colleagues as they share innovative programs and services offered by their JCCs. We hope this is the first of many program sharing and brainstorming sessions. We'll have a short time for questions and answers at the end of each presentation and additional time at the end of the session. It's with great excitement that I introduce our incredible presenters today. From the Mandel JCC of the Greater Palm Beaches, it's my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Kabot, Director of Special Needs, John Knight, Developmental Specialist, and Kayla Cove, Developmental Specialist. We will then hear from Deborah Lombard, Giborim U Director, and Bonnie Raymond, Chief Community Officer from the David Posnack JCC in Davie, Florida. And last but certainly not least, from the Miles Nadal JCC in Toronto, we welcome Liv Mendelsohn, Director of Accessibility and Inclusion, and the Artistic Director of the ReelAbilities Film Festival in Toronto. You can find our presenters' full bios on the SpotMe platform following the session. And without further delay, I will remove my spotlight and let's hear from John, Kayla, and John. Let me spotlight to there.
And can everyone see our PowerPoint?
Looks good.
My name is John Kabot. I'm the Director of Special Needs for the Mandel JCC in Palm Beach Gardens in Boynton Beach, Florida. And I'm excited to be here today with John Knight and Kayla Cove, our two developmental specialists, to talk about our model inclusion program for the preschool. So we know the number of children with exceptionalities are continuing to increase. Our current CDC stats say that 18% of children have a developmental disability. In our FORS program in Boynton Beach, we're actually closer to 33% of our currently enrolled students have some form of an exceptionality. And as the numbers of children with disabilities continue to increase, all preschools need to adjust to be better equipped to meet the needs of these students. I'm actually coming up on my 2-year anniversary at the JCC. I joined in May of 2019. And one of my first days on the job, 2 of our preschool directors sat me down and said, John, we need you to meet with these 8 families of kids who have some form of an exceptionality and tell them that they probably can't join us for the summer because camp's a little bit less structured, and they should probably start looking for a new preschool for the following year. I didn't want my first thing on the job to be asking these 8 families to leave. So I instead had this very crazy idea where I was going to call 2 of my coworkers from a previous job, John Knight and Kayla Cove, and say, how do you guys feel about joining us for the summer and launching a self-contained model so that we could really focus on these behaviors just for the summer to get ready for the school year? They, for some reason, decided to agree, and we saw a significant reduction in challenging behaviors. And we thought, this is really working. We're not quite ready to be mainstream back into our typical classrooms, but can we keep this going for the school year? So for the 2019-2020 school year up until March, we ran a self-contained model and we got really remarkable results. All of our kids who were kindergarten eligible at the end of the school year went to a full-time mainstream gen ed environment for kindergarten this year. When the summer, when we started, they all would have been slated to go to a self-contained kindergarten model. So after that self-contained model, we decided to start our current program, which is our model inclusion program. We split the two teachers up, and John and Kayla are now on their own. One is in our 2-year-old program and one is in our VPK, our 4-year-old program. Each classroom has one teacher and one paraprofessional. The teachers are John and Kayla, who do come with between 10 and 15 years of ESE experience. The rooms have a 14-to-2 ratio, 14 students to 2 staff members. And the rooms were initially designed to have up to 5 children with exceptionalities. What we saw this year, which made it a little unique, is a lot of kids who weren't being screened pre-COVID either came to us mid-year with exceptionalities, or as word got out that we had these programs that could work successfully with children that were showing more behaviors, that 9-to-5 ratio kind of tipped closer to a 7-to-7 or a 6-to-8 at times the other way ratio. What we've been really working on this school year is blending the principles of ABA, of applied behavior analysis, with our typical JCC child-centered learning approach. Each room utilizes visual supports, positive reinforcement, differentiated instruction, some small group instruction, and functional communication training into everything they do. Every child completes our preschool assessment 3 times a year to track progress, and we meet with each family after the assessment to go over where we're seeing growth, where we're seeing strengths emerge, and where we're still seeing areas of concern that need to be addressed. And everything we do has social skills infused into the activities, whether it's circle time when we're learning to wait our turn to be called on, snack when we're talking about handing out materials and sharing, play, teacher time, they all have social skills infused to their activities. One of the items that we've really put into our program, which has been a lot of fun and given us some really amazing results, is every child who requires a full behavior plan has an individualized plan. Every family that has that plan receives the copy of the plan, the materials necessary to implement that plan, and training on how to implement. So if we have a child that's working on a token system at school, the family gets the same token system at home. They sit down with myself, with Mr. John, with Miss Kayla. We go over exactly how to use that token board or whatever the material is, and coach them through it so that we can start to see not just the improvements at school, but see those changes at home as well. All staff members who work with the child receive training on the plan. So John and Kayla train their staff, but we also work with our lifeguards, with our PE teachers, our music teachers, and anyone else who works with the child to make sure they're getting the same support across their day. And for kids who don't need that plan, but need a little bit more support, they'll have those individualized behavior strategies put in place to make sure they're successful throughout the day.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is John Knight, one of the developmental specialists here at the JCC, for the 4s in the classroom. And I do want to touch on just a few things of what makes our classroom unique. Our core belief is that our students are capable despite exceptionalities and deserve an opportunity to learn alongside other students. We spend a substantial amount of time and observation and assessment of students' social and academic skills, as well as their behavioral needs. This helps us to build rapport and trust with the student. We use consistent reinforcement, as well as the use of natural consequences to address behavior. We strive to provide balance, which allows us to build stronger relationships with all students. We consider the needs of our students with exceptionalities when setting up our classroom environments, schedules of activities, types of activities, and periodic assessments. Our rooms focus on overcoming challenging behaviors to prepare children for learning. These classrooms focus on providing all children with a system for communication. Contingency plans are in place to ensure instruction continues during moments of crisis. And one thing I just kind of want to elaborate on as far as the uniqueness of our classroom, with any teacher, when they come into their school, into their class, first thing in the morning, they want to do is just that with their children, is to teach, right? It goes without saying. But what we may find in a classroom, speaking from my classroom, because we have the children with these exceptionalities, that at any given time, we may have to work through this barrier, if you will, of the behavior. Attention may take place. They could have woken up on the wrong side of the bed, as we all may have. Something may have taken place at home prior to coming to school, which carried into the day, which kind of has them in a mode of probably of much more of non-compliance as maybe they normally would. And it's up to myself in my classroom to really work through that, helping them to learn of self-regulation. And a simple way of doing that is through breathing techniques. Breathing in, I'll have them to smell the flowers, and breathe out, blowing the candles. This is a way to help them to learn with self-regulation, as children with exceptionalities may have a little bit of struggles with doing so. And of course, what that allows them to do is, once they are centered, getting them to tell me what it is that may be bothering them, also communicating with the parents or something that may have taken place prior to coming to school, or something that may have happened in school, so that way I can be able to find some common ground with them to help them to figure out what it is that's bothering them, get it to a place where they can move on to the next activity without feeling the way they were during the tantrum.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kayla Cove, and I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about our Preschool Plus program and how our program impacts students with and without exceptionalities. Children with exceptionalities are often labeled. They're labeled bad, difficult, mean, and hard. We don't realize how much that impacts our children. I had a student last year who would engage in tantrum and self-injurious behavior. And during these times, he would tell us how stupid he is and how bad he is. And we quickly realized that he's hearing this from somewhere. And we worked on building confidence, and we saw a transition after that. Misunderstood by staff, peers, and other families. They have behavior that limits their ability to learn and recall academic and social skills. In an inclusion classroom, these students are seen as themselves. They're seen as capable with the right opportunities and strategies that we put in place, given the necessary supports and structures needed to learn, and given the opportunity, most importantly, to feel included, valued, and appreciated. Children without exceptionalities often gain experience with peers who may be different from them. They learn how to be friends with someone who may look or behave differently from them. And they benefit from the teaching strategies and structure of an inclusion room. The families of children with exceptionalities often feel scared of their child not having friends, not learning at an appropriate pace, not having the same opportunities as other children, being moved in and out of classrooms multiple times in the school year, being kicked out of school, and not being included. They often feel misjudged, the worry that other families and staff members may feel like they aren't doing enough or that they're to blame for their child's behavior. And they often feel limited in schools, classrooms, and activities that their child can be involved in. We strive to impact families of students with exceptionalities by creating a safe and honest place for families to talk about their child's needs and behavior without judgment of their child or parenting. We assure families that their child is not at risk of being kicked out of the classroom or the program. We reassure families that their child has the ability to learn and develop academic and social skills. They just need a different style of structured learning. We also provide our families with strategies on how to respond to problem behavior at home that is similar to what we use in the classroom.
So speaking of, I want to touch a little bit on what Kayla was speaking about, child, fear of being kicked out of school. So I had one beautiful girl come to me in October. It was her 8th preschool coming to us when she came to us. She came in displaying some challenging behaviors. and she was brought to me. And I'm gonna tell you, I recently had a parent-teacher conference, and I spoke with her mother, and she could not be more happy of just how much of a difference she's seen in my child, a student, since coming into my classroom. She's much more compliant at home. She's sharing with her siblings and other family members. She's more helpful around the room, and I even see it myself in my classroom. I almost have to stop her sometimes because just how much she wants to help other students. Although I like to have the students trying to work on their independent skills, and just how much more socially, which goes into that, just her social behavior, just how much she wants to help and wants to play with her friends, and almost like my third teacher, if you will, with wanting to showing them that they need to take turns or to wait for their turn, or letting me know if someone is not following my classroom rules. She'll be one of the first ones to let me know of what is taking place, so that way I can kind of rectify the situation of what's going on. The mother explained to me just the pressure that her and her husband have had with just finding her a school just to be who she should be at her age, a child, a kid that's in school, a student, to have a foundation somewhere where she can just grow and prosper in a classroom, to learn academics and socially. And she could not be more happier with how she has been since coming to my classroom. And for myself, I couldn't have been more joyous to hear those kind of things, because this is why we do what we do. They are challenging, yes, but that's why we're here. That's why I'm here, to help these children to make a difference, because I know what they're capable of. They just need that different way, that different approach. And over my years, I've learned through many people, including John Cabot himself, for quite some time. Kudos to him. Many things I've learned from him, whether directly or indirectly, that I've taken with me. This is about maybe 15, 16 years now. And from the very first day I've been in this environment, I hold that near and dear, because it's helped me to help the many kids that I've had over the years, and even the group that I have right now this year, for them to prosper, to become what I know they're capable of doing.
Maya is so awesome, and we are so proud of her and all her growth. I have had the opportunity to work with Natalia. Natalia entered the school year and struggling in her classroom. She was non-compliant with her teachers and staff. She would not engage in activities. She would elope from her teachers and classmates or the area that she was in. And she would cry and scream during nap time or quiet time. As of February, Natalia was transferred into my classroom, the Preschool Plus program, and with individualized teaching strategies, support, reinforcement, and a whole lot of love. Natalia is now engaging in activities with minimal prompts. She plays alongside others, and she initiates play with them. She rests quietly or naps, as you can see in the picture here. She is making tremendous progress academically and socially in this program. And it's really been exciting to watch her grow and learn, as well as make friends. So it's really exciting to see.
And I would like you to see, and I apologize for my lack of ability to edit videos, we're going to start with Miss Kayla's circle time.
Hey, good job.
And this is a 2-year-old classroom, but as you can see, she has all of her visuals out for her song choices, for her calendar, for her colors, days of the week. She uses her visuals that can come on and off the wall so that she can give them the support the moment they need. She noticed her class starting to have a little bit of a hard time, so she immediately went back into that group self-regulation, that smelling the flower, blowing out the candle that Mr. John spoke about earlier. You can see she's giving out positive reinforcement while her staff members redirecting a student who needs a little more support. And one of the things I love there is she had a choral response for all the kids to be able to say today is Tuesday, but then she called on one of her targeted students that needed a little bit more support to make sure he got the individual opportunity to respond and get that reinforcement for responding. So now we're going to see Mr. John's story time, teacher time rather.
All right, friends. So today we're going to do a little bit of alphabet bingo. We each get a turn and a letter on our board. Okay? Let's start with you. All right. Excellent job, guys. Jonah, can you tell me what's a word that starts with B? Oh, good. And what sound does letter B make? Excellent. Chip for you, buddy.
Yay! My favorite way.
Okay, Sienna, your turn. All right, Sienna. What letter do we have here? Oh, now Sienna, can you tell me what's a word that starts with O?
So as you saw, Mr. John gave them the clear expectations. We're going to sit down, we're going to play letter bingo, we're all going to get a turn. He started with a student who needed a little bit more support to make sure that he got engaged in the activity from the get-go, but he also gave lots of verbal praise throughout and then moved on to the next student. And we'd love you to hear from two of our families, this one from Miss Kayla's room, the next one from Mr. John's room, on what the program has meant to them.
Hi, I'm Nye.
And I'm Vincent.
And we're the Kish family. Speaking about the School Plus program is something we can do with such ease and really with great pleasure. We have twin boys, 3-year-old twin boys who have now almost completed their first year in the Preschool Plus program under John and Miss Kayla and their entire team. And we really can't say enough good things about our experience as a family with the program. Previous to the JCC Preschool Plus program, our boys were in conventional preschool that we realized really quickly was overwhelmed with the needs specifically for our child. And really at no fault of their own, the staff was not equipped really to handle children that need that extra TLC, that extra care, that compassion, the extra attention that we have most certainly found at the JCC Preschool Plus program. One of our twin boys is on the spectrum and one isn't. However, both boys have really flourished in the Preschool Plus program. They have identified how each of our boys.
And we'd love to hear from Jonah's family, from Mr. John's room as well.
I'm going to start by saying a little background about why Jeff and I are so thankful for Mr. John Kabot, Mr. John, and Miss Kayla. Jonah started preschool with me teaching at the same preschool he was at. He received lots of hugs throughout the day and compliments from not only me, but my students. And he knew that I was never far away from him. When I stopped teaching there, he moved to a different school. And at this different school, unfortunately, I became accustomed to coming in and expecting to hear what Jonah did wrong that day and signing lots of incident reports from hitting other children, kicking, biting, trying to run away from school, not sitting when he was supposed to, and if he did sit, not sitting crisscross applesauce. It was recommended at the school that Jonah see a neurologist. At the end of the year school play, we were told if we got the cue from a teacher that we should take Jonah off the stage. At the play, I did get the nod from the teacher. However, I did not take Jonah off the stage, and he ended up doing very well. After that school year, I brought him to the JCC at Boynton Beach, where we both have nothing but great things to say about the JCC. However, Jonah did still continue to get in lots of trouble, and he would cry whenever I tried to leave. I would have to run around and knock on the window and wave to him. He would still cry. When I picked him up, we also became accustomed to citing incident reports about him kicking other students or biting, or teachers, not saying nice words, even though he couldn't speak that well at that point. So more incident reports, and there was also talk of Jonah having to go elsewhere, kind of being kicked out. So fast forward to Mr. John Cabot, Mr. John, and Miss Kayla, and it was wonderful when they came. We finally felt like Jonah was at a place where he belonged, a place where he felt comfortable with his teachers and his classmates, that he wasn't the black sheep.
So I think the one thing we hear from our families that really sticks out to all of us is we have a sign over the door of our school when every family, when they used to be allowed to walk in, or now when they drop their child off in carpool and we walk them in, may everyone who enters the guest leave his mishpacha, leave his family. And for our families of children with special needs, they finally have that feeling that they have a school where they are family, where they are welcomed in everything we do, where they are part of everything we do, and their child is loved, supported, and given the tools to be successful. And it's because of the hard work of Mr. John, Miss Kayla, and everyone that supports them. We're going to stick around for any questions, and then we'll be here for the Q&A at the end as well.
Thank you, John, Kayla, and John. I'm going to remove the spotlights just for a moment. So if people have questions, we'll be able to see who's asking. But John, when you said in the beginning that one of your first tasks as a new professional at the JCC was to have these hard conversations with parents, it just like reinforces how as schools within the JCC community, you are meeting parents and families at sometimes their most vulnerable points, and they're making decisions, they're deciding what their family life, often like first children and those types of things. And the fact that you are making sure that your community center is able to welcome families with an open door instead of already having a closed one. It's a wonderful entry point for their Jewish journeys and their lives at the JCC. So it's just so incredibly important. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions at this point? There will be more time at the end. Feel free to unmute yourself or raise your virtual hand, type in the chat, whatever feels comfortable.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
It was great to hear about the program there. So I wanted to know about the ratio. You had mentioned it was 14 students to 2. Is that in the 2-year-olds and the pre-K? Just wondering, because for example, our 2-year-old ratio is even lower than that in just a typical classroom. So that would, for example, we would like want more support than that. So I'm just wondering, is that for the 2-year-olds, and how does that work for you?
So that is our 2-year-old program is also in that 4. I actually think they might be at 13. Kayla will be able to answer that better than me, but in the same ballpark of a 6 or 7 to 1 ratio. There have been days where we have put the third adult in there because either a new child is transitioning in and we know we need that little bit of extra support. What we've really found that makes this program so unique is, and they're both very modest, they won't say it, but John, I think we were a year or 2 off in your presentation, but John and I we did the math a little while ago, and I think we're at 18 years together in the preschool ESE world, and Kayla pretty close to that as well. And by having 2 such uniquely qualified and such uniquely skilled teachers in the room, sometimes the person is more important than the numbers, and having true special educators in that room allows us to have a little bit less dense of a ratio than you would in other rooms just because of who the 2 of them are.
Right. Thank you.
I have a question. I actually have a few questions. I'm sorry. So there's lots of, I'm in Pennsylvania, and we have like early intervention classrooms set up through IU and other programs. Why would a family, I mean, I love this idea, it's my dream to have this, but why would a family send to the JCC versus something that's already funded? Are you guys funded the same way? How does that work?
We are going through the process of being Step Up for Students Gardner scholarship eligible, which will allow families who don't qualify for their school choice public school, but qualify for the Gardner scholarship to fund a majority. The families that are coming to us are not typically the families, for preschool at least, who have a diagnosis of a level, 3 or 4 autism, nonverbal, severely self-injuries. We're not seeing the students who are in those more therapeutic-based programs. We're seeing that next jump of kids who either are higher function on the autism spectrum, developmentally delayed, and most public school programs for preschool in our area are all self-contained models. And these are families that want that inclusive gen ed model, but with that extra support that they can't just go to the neighborhood preschool without those professionals in place.
Perfect. You answered my next question, because I was about to say, to what extent I love the word that you use, exceptionality. To what extent of exceptionality you can help in your classroom, or you can work with in your classroom. But I think you said autism has a spectrum, and they go up from 1 to 4. So you see mostly children who are high functioning in your classroom, is what I'm understanding. Yeah,
we're seeing a lot of ASD, a lot of developmental delays, and we're starting to see more and more of families that are going through the process of an EBD diagnosis who are with us as well. And again, they want that gen ed, not that self-contained model that Broward and Palm Beach public school preschool programs tend to be focused on.
What is EBD? Emotional
behavioral disability.
Oh, okay. And I had another question, sorry, so many. Since some of your children have developmental delays, do you ever mix the ages of the classroom to find a better fit for them?
So last year, and Kayla and John can jump in if they would like as well, it was a mixed 3 and 4 program. This year, it just turned out not to be the case, but yes, we are open to that mix of either a child who needs to be one age group down just for a little bit more support, or just having the right blend of kids. So we have been open to the mixed ages in the past. And it worked really well last year with the 3s and 4s.
Yes, as a matter of fact, just to kind of reiterate what John was saying, I do actually have one student that came to me, the last one that came to me a couple months ago, where he recently just turned 4. So he had been 3. So obviously my majority of the group are 4 turning 5, basically. But we did have one who just turned 4, which I think typically if he would have gone to another classroom just because of the way his age range, but because of the sectionalities that he has, knowing that he would it's better work in my classroom with the services that I provide, that he came to me.
Yeah, we had one last year as well. We had a student that came in as a 3-year-old, and we were working with 4 and 5s. So.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I have one last question. Sorry, lots of questions. So you're connected to other classrooms with your whole JCC that our neurotypical students would go to. Do you find that you end up pulling or approaching families that are in your regular classrooms and suggesting that they try these classrooms?
So I guess I'll clear up the first part. All of our rooms, and as I'm sure all of your guys as well, whether we advertise that way or not, are inclusion classrooms. We do have a child with an exceptionality in every one of our rooms, either diagnosed or going through the process. We have had conversations where we have had families, the girl that John spoke about for her success story actually started in a different classroom and realized she just needed more support than that room could provide, and she moved to Mr. John. Kayla's success story was the same thing. There was a girl who started in a different room, and we did have to have that conversation. But a big focus that we're doing, and part of John and Kayla's job, is to provide support to the rest of our rooms, and then I do as well, is to set our kids up for success in the room they're in. We actually, and I don't know if she's with us, I know she was signed up, Amy Goldberg is one of our 2-year-old teachers. And we met with one of her families earlier in the year and said, I think we're going down the road of we're going to put some strategies in place. And if they're not successful, the next step is to go with Miss Kayla. And I'm so proud of Amy Goldberg. She implemented all the strategies with great fidelity. She was implementing them perfectly. And the child's behavior completely turned around. And we never had to move that child to Miss Kayla's room because he's thriving in his current room. So we are having those moves, but our first priority is to try to make them successful in their current room.
That's amazing. Such a great resource to have. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. And shout out to the JCC in the Lehigh Valley. I grew up right down the street and going to the JCC as well. So thanks, Allie. I see one more question in the chat that I think we'll hold to the end, if that's okay. And I'll make a note to get to that at the end of our 3 sessions. And I'm going to turn it over now to Bonnie and Debbie from the David Posnack JCC in Davie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. We're going to start off and share a very brief video, and then we'll go into our presentation. So just give me a moment.
The David Posnack JCC special needs programs are united under the name Giborim, which means heroes. They hold
Bonnie, we're having trouble seeing the screen. We see some files right now.
Giborim and give you the
okay. That shouldn't be.
And while Bonnie's figuring that out, I didn't even say thank you. Thank you to John and Kayla for your presentation and for your time. We're going to get to the rest of the questions. I see them coming in at the end, but thank you.
I'm going to try pressing play again.
The David Posnack JCC special.
And I think, Bonnie, it's because here I have the video queued up. Let me.
All right, do you want to show it then?
Go ahead.
It's showing on my.
I think it's because you have the window. Let me just window open, but here we go.
You want me to stop sharing them?
Yeah, just for a second, and I will.
Okay. Hopefully my PowerPoint will work.
I have great confidence that it will. One moment. Are you seeing the video on my screen? Perfect.
Yes. The David Posnack JCC's special needs programs are united under the name Giborim, which means heroes. They hold a very special place in my family's hearts. Both the Posnack Foundation Camp Giborim and Give You, the afternoon enrichment program for adults and children with developmental disabilities, offer our local special needs population a nurturing and engaging environment in which to learn, to socialize, and to have fun. It's a huge support for us as a family, and we are so grateful to everyone who supports Posnack Foundation Camp Giborim and Give You.
Gregory started at Camp Giborim at the age of 4. He's been at Camp Giborim every year since. When Give You started, an extracurricular program that would continue throughout Gregory's adult life. Give You was life-changing for Gregory. He participated in karate, boxing, basketball, golf. Give You and the JCC felt like home to him. When the pandemic hit, all that came to an abrupt halt. Gregory missed his life. There was a huge void. No camp and no Give You. Thankfully, Give Connect started. Now our child has something to look forward to every day that is completely his own. Through his classes at Give Connect, he sees his friends and instructors. He especially enjoys yoga, working out, and hip hop. Once again, the JCC has gifted us. Gregory, through his Give Connect community, has his life back. For an hour a day, dropping him at the door, watching from a distance as he enjoys his Give Connect world. And for that, we are very, very thankful.
If you could be from anywhere in the world, where would you be from? Gregory, tell us.
Camp Giborim.
Camp Giborim. He'd be from Camp Giborim. All right.
How long have you been going to Give You?
For around 2 years.
And you like it a lot?
Yeah, I do. And it changed my life.
How did it change your life?
Because I meet my friends there.
Okay, and you learn how to?
Cooking.
And what else do you do?
What else do you do?
In fitness.
Fitness. And what was one of your favorite classes in person?
Maybe club.
And the one that you?
Hip hop.
Hip hop. And you do those classes online now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's really nice that they still do classes online and you can participate. It's a really great program.
Yeah, it is.
So we can't wait to be able to get back there in person.
Yeah, me too.
And I love you. And you are a best teacher when I always love, and I love you.
Thank you, sweetheart. And you are a wonderful student and a great actress and a great performer and just a love and an angel on earth. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity and the pleasure and the honor to teach you.
Thank you, Mackenzie, for sharing that for us. So we'll go ahead. I hope you enjoyed the video, and this time I'm going to share my screen and it should work. You are seeing that, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I'm just going to start it, and I have to just make one quick adjustment to the display, and you're back to seeing it, yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, everyone. So our program at our Posnack JCC, where we're in Davie, Florida, is called Giborim. As Missy, that parent on there, said, Giborim means heroes in Hebrew, and we use that theme throughout all our programming. The Giborim program at our JCC actually is like a big umbrella program, and it encompasses the Giborim U, which you're going to hear about, Gib Connect, which you heard a little about, our Camp Giborim program, something called the Gib Shop, which you'll hear about, and a new program which we're very excited and proud to open this fall called GAP, which is stands for Giborim Adult Program. The mission statement for Giborim, and we really try and live by this, it's an all-encompassing program for children, teens, and adults with developmental disabilities. We have classes in all areas: fitness, arts, sports, recreation, life skills, health and wellness, and we really do work very hard for them to gain independence and develop their communication skills. And most importantly, it's about them forging their connections to each other in the community. And you heard a little snippets of that in our video as well.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. My name, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Debbie Lombard. I am the director of Giborim U. Bonnie, could we please go to the next slide? And welcome to the world of Giborim. We have some wonderful classes. Before the pandemic, we were 7 days a week. We offered 18 classes to over 100 participants, ages 6 and up. Go back one, please.
Yeah, that was the slide. Okay.
Oh, there you go. No, we're missing it. It's the Gib U classes, but it doesn't.
Is that the one
backwards one?
That is. That's the one that's showing for me. Is that not showing?
That's okay. We're on it now. Yeah. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of a snippet of what we do during the typical year is we have the 18 classes in sports and wellness. So we do boxing, we do swimming, we do spinning, karate, we have tennis. We also added golf, which is not in there. We have arts programs. We have hip hop, visual arts, music. We also have the culinary arts, which is our cooking. And we also go on weekend socials, and we do every few months, like 4 times a year, we try to do a family social. Just recently, we went to a place called Flamingo Gardens. If you come to Florida, you definitely should go there. It's a nature center with animals and birds and you name it. And we went on a tour and we had a wonderful, wonderful time. We also have gone to other socials, Bob Roth's New River Grove, where we go there and we learn all about planting in your gardens. And everyone actually gets to go home with some plants, and they also learn how to plant their own garden and how to compost and do all of that. Again, we have our family party. So our Super Bowl party is part of our family. So this way our families get to connect to each other. We also go to the football game. We go to the tennis matches. I mean, we're always out there. We're always looking for new things to do. And in December, we actually started our in-person classes again. We did go virtual in March. And so we started, and we were offering, and we still are, 5 days a week, 8 different classes. And we are offering many that are the same that you heard one of the parents tell. This is obviously one of our main focuses, our life skills and our social skills. We have a wonderful time with it. So we do fundamentals, we do life skills and transition into adulthood. We have the Student Finance League, which happens to be a nonprofit that works along with us, teaching about budgeting and how to use your money wisely. And there's something that they call a money buddy. And that money buddy, I keep saying it wrong, actually is a person that you pick, not a parent, that if you're going to buy something over a certain price, you're going to give them a call. And so very simply can say, hey, I'm about to buy a pack of gum and the guy wants to charge me $5 for it. Should I buy it? And of course, your money buddy is going to say, no, that's too much money. And so you have that. We also have our delicious Fun in the Kitchen, which is our creative kitchen with Bubby. And you'll get to meet Bubby in a minute. So we can change that one. So our next slide is Gib Connect. It's coming around.
I think maybe there's a delay because I'm showing.
Yes, something's stopping. So I can talk about it because Gib Connect, back in March when we closed March 13th, we actually jumped onto Facebook immediately and started doing virtual programming. And we ended up doing every single afternoon for 5 days, getting online and everybody meeting and doing socialization and making all different games. In the fall, we pivoted and actually created the program because we weren't back in person till December. And we created
Gib Connect. Interrupt for a second. Mackenzie, can you share instead? I think there's a delay and it might be through our internet, possibly. Because it's
I'm happy to.
Showing me a delay. So we're on slide, I think it's 5.
Okay.
Say Gib Connect on it.
Sounds good. Debbie, you can keep going. I'll figure it out on my end.
So our Gib Connect program has, we have at least 8 programs 5 days a week that we offer from about 4:15 on. We do hip hop, we do yoga, we have karate, we have, our financial league goes on. Here's the wonderful thing that I'm noticing, and I don't know about you guys who are on virtual, but I thought at first that the socialization would be a disconnect. I was totally wrong. There are many that are connecting. We have one guy in Tennessee. We've got others that have never been to Gib U. Suddenly they're all friends. And if they don't see each other on Zoom, they want to know where they are. They've connected through phone numbers, through Facebook, through emails. They've become tremendous friends. And I've also seen those who I knew as nonverbal in person have become more comfortable through the Zoom format and is now talking up a storm. We also do something called Gib at Night. And our Gib at Night is our teen and adult social that we do once a month, and we play games and we have a terrific time. We keep growing. We've got 30 participants and we are going to continue this through the summer. So the next slide. And now you guys get to meet Bubby. This is Bubby with bagels. So Bubby was born on May 4th, and she came on board because she wanted to create all these different activities for everyone to do every day. So you would tune into Bubby on Facebook and she would give you a challenge or have you dress up with Crazy Hat Day or Crazy Sock Day. Obviously, the mermaid one was your favorite Disney character, and Bubby's favorite is, of course, Ariel. And so she dressed up, but she comes on. And now throughout the year, we have every Monday, you have Bagels with Bubby, and she gives you the update of what's going on. She's become pretty famous and well-loved by many. So, and she did win Best Hanukkah costume for Hanukkah. Next slide.
Okay, so next few slides are all about our camp. So the camp was the original program in our special needs department. It's now renamed, called the Posnack Foundation Camp Giborim. It's for children, teens, and adults. We start at age 3. So actually, if there are children in that camp, they're not housed in the preschool. They are in the Camp Giborim program. And it goes all the way through adults. This summer will be our 31st summer, and we're only 31 years old. So we've had it since we opened. We started out with 8 campers and now we're over 150, or at least we were in 2019. So we sort of don't count last summer, but this summer we're headed to be somewhere around maybe 100 to 110. You can go to the next slide. And on this next slide, by the way, Mackenzie, the right side is a video to play in just a few seconds. So Camp Giborim program includes really all of the typical activities that the general Camp Kadima has. They do swimming, sports, fitness, arts. They do go on field trips. We have a lot of in-house entertainment. They do participate in our Maccabi games, and it is a fully integrated schedule. And it definitely is one of the most popular programs that we have within this department. So if you click on, there's a little start button at the, oh, sorry, back at the last video. Sorry, back at the last slide. Oh, I think we're going the wrong way.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yep, I need to, let me stop sharing for a second and then go back a slide or 2.
It's slide number 8, if that helps.
Perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Here we go.
And then that's, yeah.
That's showing.
Thank you. They're just really brief.
Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. I was expecting. Some of the highlights, we have this great program in camp called Tasty Tuesdays and Thirsty Thursdays, where the participants and children and campers in the program sell to the rest of the camp at carpool food on Tuesdays and drinks and lemonade on Thursdays. It teaches them life skills. It's actually a fundraising program, and they have a great amount of socialization with the full camp. It's really definitely one of the most fun times of camp for everyone in camp. We also have another program called Helping Heroes, where we invite back the campers that have sort of, let's say, graduated, so they've aged out. They're more in their mid to late 20s or even 30s, and they come back almost as like a CIT, and they're mentors, and they build relationships with the younger campers, and again, developing life skills. So we're very proud of that. The next slide. Thank you. Oh, this is just a quick video to show you what Tasty Tuesdays and Thirsty Thursdays and the Helping Heroes looks like. Thanks. And we do hope to continue this summer as well. Everything's going to be individually wrapped and a little more spread out, but we are doing it, and the drinks will all be prepackaged as well. Okay.
Okay, so from our Tasty Tuesdays and Thirsty Thursdays and Helping Heroes, the Gib Shop was created. The Gib Shop is a gift shop on wheels. It's a, you can see it closed right over here. That's how it looks when it's closed. And then of course it's open. The wonderful thing about the Gibb Shop is that all these extraordinary goods are not only just sold by extraordinary people, they are also made by extraordinary people. So this is an opportunity for our Gibb U participants to not only learn the skill of sales and marketing and also, stocking and ordering. It also allows the artist to come and display their items. So 90% of everything in the Gibb Shop happens to be made by either one of our participants or one of our companies that we're working with. I don't know if you guys know of Sensibility, but we work with Sensibility, which is a candle making and a scent program. We also work with a young artist by the name of Joey. We also work with artists with autism. Great story about the artists and coming out. We have a young man, his name is Cody. And Cody makes coasters. And they look like those old pot holders that we used to use, but they're much smaller.
If we play the video, Deb, they'll see the.
They'll get to see it all. So anyways, the bottom line with Cody, you'll see them, is Cody did not want to come out of his house. And so he just sat inside and would make these coasters. Well, he wanted us to sell them, but I asked, could he please come and help me to sell them on a day? Well, now until the pandemic, Cody was coming every Wednesday to be in the lobby to sell his stuff. So we moved the Gibb Shop from place to place. And the future of the Gibb Shop is hopefully to take it out into craft shows and to get more exposure. So now we're going to watch that little video.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Giborim is very, very proud and honored to be partnering with all of these partners. Our success is due to our partnerships in the community. Together, our partners help us raise awareness and help us with fundraising and also help us with participation. We work with Goodman Jewish Family Services, the Joshua's Path, the Boost program, which is building on our strengths together with our Gibb Shop that you just saw. So what they do is they use our facility and they come in and they have job training and work along with the Gibb Shop. They work in our cafe, they work in our gym, and they work in our catering department. Also, and then once they get their training and their social skills, the difference with Boost is that they not only teach the training and the work skills, they also teach the socialization, which is so important. Best Buddies is one of our partners that works along with us with these jobs, and it's Best Buddies jobs that they place. We also work with the Broward Center of Performing Arts, another job training, but also along with their sensory-friendly shows. We work one-to-one on what shows to bring in. Also with training, we work with CARD, CARD. They're also working with us with our GAP program. Autism Speaks is also through a grant. We got our Ready, Set, Go equipment, and our classes run by that. Our Special Olympics also helps us with our health programs, where we have a Healthy, Fit, and Fun, which is a life skills program that we teach you how to eat healthy, how to stay fit, and how to have fun while you're doing it. And so that's, and all the other ones, of course, we love being with, and of course, the Jewish Federation. There's a big one for that. Wow. So, okay, thank you.
So drum roll, and this is, we are introducing this fall the new GAP program, which stands for Giborim Adult Program. That's our new logo. It's going to be a 5-day-a-week program, 8:30 to 2:30 for ages 20 plus. We're starting with 9 to 12 participants. We sent out an interest form, like a Google form. We had 66 respond. We're having our first parent informational Zoom this Tuesday. So we'll let you know how it goes, but we do plan on opening this this fall, and you'll see that the goals are there. If anyone's interested, we could send you our first brochure as well. So, and the next slide, Debbie's going to tell us about our future goals.
And so we are expanding our reach. And so we have since Give Connect and the virtual programming we're going to be expanding that nationally. We just had a green room built, so it's a full production room, totally set for this. We are looking not only to expand our actual classes in Give Connect, but to create a network for the population with developmental disabilities. We also are working very much into bringing into our preschool some early intervention, so that this way we can identify those and help our families, through all that. Job training is a very big deal. We've already started a large portion of that, but we're looking to do more. We want to create a actual J Grub, where we have our cafe here, and your J Grub team will deliver your lunch or your meals to you in your offices on campus. We also want to create an on-site therapy service to work along with our GAP program and our Giborim U afternoon enrichment program for obviously speech, occupational, and physical and behavioral. This way we become your one-stop shop.
Great.
Thank you.
And our last slide, we just want to say thank you to JCC Association, because you've recognized many of our Giborim programs. In 2018, we won the National Award for Outstanding Programs. In 2019, we won the Kabot recognition for social responsibility. And just last year, we won the Innovation Incubator Award for the Gib Shop. So if you're interested, you can contact Debbie or Debbie or me at our JCC. I believe that it's all on the ProCon site to how to contact us, but we could also put it in the chat. And I think our last slide is just to take questions and answers, although I think we're behind a little. So Mackenzie, it's up to you if you want to save them to the end or not.
I'm on mute. There we go. Thank you both so much. We can absolutely have time for questions. I know I just saw someone put their contact information in the chat. They're interested in getting your forms for the new GAP program, which is super exciting. Please, anyone, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your virtual hand. We'll find you, and feel free to ask your questions. I see Beth in the chat. What a fantastic and comprehensive program. Can participants use self-directed funds in DDD to attend this program, and how is it funded?
Yeah, so we are not accepting, I assume you're asking about GAP, yes? You're asking about GAP? Yeah. We are not accepting med waiver. It is a paid tuition program. We're charging, I would say, a fairly large amount of tuition. It's going to be somewhere around $2,500 to $2,800 a month. It hasn't actually been decided yet. We're waiting to hear from Federation how much scholarship we get. We applied for a large amount. We're waiting to hear that, but we will definitely offer scholarship for sure. The question is how much. They can use their Social Security money, the CDC money that they get, but we're not accepting the med waiver though. And we have on our advisory board, a consultant who's amazing. Her job is she is an advocate for families with developmental disabilities, and she helps you walk you through the steps of getting all the government funding that you need. So we know that we're not just leaving them hanging. They're going to get the support through our advisory board expert who literally does this for a living. So I'm excited about that.
Great question.
Thank you. Anyone else? And don't forget, we have time at the end as well. So if you're holding a question, feel free to add it into the chat, or we'll open it up at the end as well.
There was a question earlier from Emily Young.
Yes, I think that was for John and Kayla about the length of their program. Is that the one, Lorraine?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We'll hold that one until the end. And then for right now, thank you, Bonnie and Debbie, for taking us through your program. Seeing the slide of everyone on the Zoom and how you've kept people connected through a time that could feel so isolating for so many. The whole presentation was wonderful. Thank you. So now we are going to turn it over to Liv Mendelsohn, and I'm trying to find you on my screen here to spotlight. Hi, Liv. And she's going to talk about the Citizen Project at her J. And do you want me to start right away with the video, or?
Sure, why don't you play the video and then I can get into the background once we get into the PowerPoint.
Awesome. Here we go. Can everyone see my screen? Great.
Not judging ourselves or each other, open and respectful dialogue, treat others as you would like to be treated, the right to feel your emotions, the right to ask for help, the right to time, slow is good, breathe and breathe.
And what's that over there?
That's the original Canada Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We read this first, and then from this, we chose our own stuff right here.
My name is Ben Client.
Crystal Nussbaum. Dana Morris.
Simon, and I'm 25.
25.
26 years old.
And I am 30 years old, going on 31.
And I'm currently taking the Toronto Citizenship Project, which is sadly coming to an end.
It's a program that for people who have disabilities.
We write about what matters to us and how we have a lot of different voices.
A couple different topics that I'm interested in are education, Indigenous relations, and environmentalism.
I've learned about the climate change.
It's important that the government enforces environmental policies and tries to keep those policies through the changing governments.
And another issue is accessibility in transit. Getting fair pay for disabled people.
I guess basically more affordable housing.
The LGBTQ rights with their community, because I truly believe in that. I do love going on field trips to talk to city councils. We met Jack Layden's brother, and his name is Mike Layden, and it was fun getting to know him and talk to him. I also love the different guest speakers that comes in.
We have professionals that come in and talk to us about their specific companies.
One of the guest speakers was talking about the whole issue about wildfires.
There was a lady that came from an environmental organization called Green Pack. We talked about how they make sure each party has at least one point on their platform as an environmental statement. It's been really interesting attending the Citizenship Project because I can learn about new things that I don't always get the chance to.
I hope that it comes back next year because it's also fun and starting to talk about topics that some people obviously like to shy away from.
We're trying to write a speech about what we think and about the stuff we think is important to us.
It's like a safe place that the people with disabilities can come in, don't have to be judged on what they're believing in, what political party they like.
There's always so much to learn, and we're always growing.
All right, if you can put up the PowerPoint for me, awesome. So we can go to the first slide and I'll give you all some background on what you just saw. So we support around 300 young adults with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities from 18 to 30. Now it's kind of creeping 18 to 35. And we focus on that group based on a community needs assessment that we did because that's when people are aging out of both school-based programs and supports. It's when maybe their peers who went to school with them are headed off to programs that they may not have available to them. And it's when they age out of hospital-based pediatric hospital supports. So there's a big kind of falling off the cliff gap there. Not all of the 300 folks are interested in these things. This particular program emerged out of our Youth Accessibility Advisory Council, which is made up of people, again, 18 to 35 with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and they advise us on our programming. They tell us what they'd like to see, how they'd like to see it, and our goal is that the programming that we do that is separate and specific for them is always a gateway to other programs at the J, so that they are finding their place, becoming comfortable, and then, you know, maybe they're doing one of these programs and they're also in the choir, or they're in the pool, or whatever. They're part of the community as a whole. So this group let us know as we were working on leadership, as we were working on leadership development with them, as a leadership council, there's 15 people on that council, that they wanted more leadership skills, and that they also didn't really understand how things work in the city and how the government works. And this is not something they learned in high school. High school really focused on literacy and numeracy, and they missed out on any kind of civics education, on rights and responsibilities, on, you know, what their relationship is to society. Okay, you can flip. Thank you. So we decided to create a program, a nonpartisan program, but that would focus on the issues that were really important to them. So some of the issues they wanted to learn about, like many people in their age group with and without disabilities, were climate change, LGBTQ rights, and they wanted a much better understanding of how our city works. So we decided to keep it local. So we created a program that would have 2 parts. The first part, this is all when it was in person, would have some learning with various different groups. But first there was 3 weeks of setup where we did some Civics 101. And then, so that would be about 30 to 45 minutes of asking lots of questions, very, very interactive, and then a snack break. And then into about 45 minutes of arts-based activities to help make it tangible and to unpack it. So using drama and tableau and all kinds of different visual art making to make these things tangible. So the first week, one of the things we talked about is that the government has a budget, just like we all have budgets. And we talked about what each of them would like to see the government spend their money on. And they made human pie charts. So they used their bodies to show where they would spend their money on things like health, education, supports for people with disabilities. They all had different ideas, and they did tableaus of different pie charts. So what we needed for this in terms of access supports, we had a personal support worker so that anybody who needed to, especially care with when they were eating snacks or using the washroom, that wouldn't be a barrier. Online, we have captioning so that that's not a barrier for people. We had a skilled facilitator who would spend time both facilitating the group, but also working with our guest speakers to help them understand how best to present information to this group so that it would be understandable. Excuse me, and artist facilitators. And that was, again, critical. So the artist facilitators are there the whole time. They're there to help with, you know, the conversation and learning part. And then they're there to create fun activities that will help people understand what's happening and help them make those links in much more concrete ways. You can flip. I think I have my slides in the wrong order, so my apologies. But yes, the issues emerged from the group interests. discussion-based learning, arts activities, breaks throughout the program. And we also have community mentors. So we have people of the same age, so peers who are also in that 18 to 35 group, who work with them on a project during this. So the project is just about taking some action on something that interests you. So some people wrote an email to their member of parliament with their mentor. One pair made a zine, which was very cool. Another pair wrote a poem and shared that on social media. So just helping them create a concrete step that they can take to advance the things that they care about. Next slide. So during the pandemic, we had a kind of confluence of things. We had people who were isolated and cut off from the things that they normally did. We had young leaders who felt that they had no way to lead during this period, young adults with disabilities who felt like, what's my role? And we also had a community of people with disabilities more hit by COVID, and lots of scary articles about outbreaks in group homes, and this group of young adults very, very concerned about this. So we first started with just a chat, a current events chat group where they could ask questions. We had in people they could ask questions of, who could give background, like medical background, etc. And then it emerged, they decided they wanted to do a citizenship group online. So we decided to keep a very tight focus. We took a look at the Toronto Office of Recovery and Rebuild report. So we summarized that in about 8 points. Each week we looked at a different element, and then they made their own recommendations of what they think that recovery should look like with that lens of young adults with disabilities and their needs. They presented their recommendations on Zoom to our city councillor, who then presented it to city council. And they're later this month going to have a roundtable with our federal minister, Carla Quilter, who's in charge of disability. And I forgot to mention, that is the field trip element. So we wanted this group, when it was in person, to feel comfortable in spaces that are theirs, like City Hall, like our provincial seat of government here in Ontario. So we have field trips where we go to those places and we meet different people who work there and learn about their roles. And they get to sit in the mayor's seat, and they get to go into council chambers or into our provincial government chambers. Because it's their space too. And so online, we wanted to keep that element, and we also wanted them to feel that the work that they were putting in to create recommendations was really important, and that their recommendations would go somewhere. So we had that meeting with our city councillor, and she entered those recommendations into the record with our city government. Next, I think there's another one, maybe. Yes, okay. So we sometimes get asked, what's Jewish about this? Like, why is the JCC doing this? You know, it's a nice thing, but why the JCC? First of all, because we support these young adults, and this came from them, and this is something they want. But also, Tikkun Olam is for everyone. And this is a group that is constantly, since they were little, been the subject of other people's mitzvah projects, and have been, you know, not been considered people who can contribute and can give back. So they wanted to be advocates, and they wanted to share their ideas and give back to our city, our society, our Jewish community. And you are not obligated to complete the word, but neither are you free to desist from it. That very important piece, I believe it's Pirkei Avot, that applies to this group too. They also have obligations to our world. And so when I think about the little kids that are being nurtured in John and Kayla, sorry if I'm getting your name wrong, in their program, we want to see them grow up to be contributing and to be leaders. And so there's sort of a continuum there. So that's what's Jewish about it. When people ask, I think it's actually very easy to answer that one. Not all of the participants are Jewish, but actually a majority of them are, just it being a JCC. Next slide. Okay, and why? Why? Other than the fact that they want to do this, what's the point? What's the outcome? Well, developing leaders and self-advocates, we want this group to continue to develop their skills, to continue to advise us in our programs, but also to be able to speak up about things that matter to them in the world. We often hear about people with disabilities being taken advantage of in various ways, and that is something that we don't, we want to build skills so that if we don't want that to happen, and if it should happen, that they know that they can speak up and they know that their voices are important. Civic engagement. So we had Elections Canada come in, which is our federal elections overseer, and we did a mock ballot booth and mock voting and a mock election. And for the first time, everybody in that group, some had voted before, but the majority hadn't. So our most recent election was the first time that most of them voted and made their own choices. They voted for a variety of different political parties, but they were really proud to have voted. And they said no one had ever asked them or shown them how. So we were happy to be part of that. And we have a couple people who are very active letter writers and member of parliament phoners now. So that's always nice to see. And for some people, that's not something that they've taken on, and that's also fine. I think the average citizen is not necessarily writing and calling their politicians all the time. But this is definitely a group that wants to be engaged and knows now that there's someone that they can reach out to and that they'll get an email back if they email their politician. And this group this year was very involved in Jewish Disability Advocacy Month, which is a lobby, traditionally in the past a lobby day, now a lobby month, where the RAC and JFNA and JCCA, all of these big organizations bring community together to support and advocate for legislation around disability rights. So this group, with their lived experience, but also their leadership skills, was very involved in that and helped identify, along with their families, what issues in Canada we wanted to advocate for this year. Next slide. I'm not sure if there's a next slide. My apologies. No, it's just me. So if anyone is interested, feel free to contact me, and I'm here for questions.
Having trouble finding the unmute button today, which is so abnormal for me. Thank you, Liv. Oh my goodness. Creating these safe spaces to have these conversations and making, you know, the connection from government to citizens, like that sometimes gets so lost. And we feel like when you said those spaces are our spaces and their spaces, it just really hit home. So this is such an incredible program. For Liv specifically to start, are there any questions? I think I'm going to remove the spotlight so we can see it. Please feel free to unmute yourself or contribute into the chat. Oh, thanks, Haley. And thanks, Liv, for adding your email address to the chat. If I took the slide down too quickly, Liv has kindly put her email in the chat for anyone to follow up, but please feel free, write in the chat, unmute yourself. Let us know what your questions are. Liv, I hope you can see the chat. There are lots of really positive things coming in. Such an incredible program of advocacy and education. So impressive with all the great work everyone's doing.
It's like John said, John Kabot said, it's about the right staff more than anything. This is not a program that costs us very much. It's about having dedicated people. All the organizations that come in to talk and teach and work with our staff to make that more understandable, they all do it for free because they're all civics organizations. This is what they, that's what they want to be doing. And it's a new group for them to reach out to. But if you have skilled staff, Kayla, not Kyla, I'm so sorry, Kayla. If you have skilled staff or can get skilled staff like a John or a Kayla, you can do anything, and it doesn't need to cost. This actually is not a difficult program for us to put on.
It's truly amazing. Anyone questions? Don't be shy. Feel free to raise your virtual hand. Or
Bonnie put a question in the chat. It's great.
I don't think I see it.
I wasn't. I was sending a message to Debbie.
Oh, okay.
But I can
right.
share it. I was so inspired by Liv's program that I really think that we could incorporate this into our GAP program, not make it the whole thing like she is, but make, because they're coming 5 days a week, like, they're coming 7 hours a day. It could be a certain class that runs, let's say, a couple of days a week, and they pick a certain project, maybe per semester or whatever, that they work on. And I just love the whole idea. So we were very inspired by it. And
we can talk offline about it. We also, like, during the pandemic, we have, and we'll talk about that another day, but we have a little bit similar to what you're doing. We have an online program that's a couple hours a day. And one component of that during the week is a civics chat. And even that is like, it's raucous in that Zoom room. Like, they have a lot of things to say. And they hear, as we all do, they hear about everything that's going on. They're aware of George Floyd and policing, and some of them have had wonderful experiences with police. Some of them have had challenging experiences with police. They're, aware of LGBTQ rights. Some of them are gay, lesbian, trans. So they want to hear and talk about the same issues that anybody else who is in their age group does. They have brothers and sisters talking about these issues. They want to understand, like, what is this about, and how, like, what's my opinion about it, and how do I get involved? So I think there's like lots of room for different approaches to this, but I think it's all great to give that opportunity.
Liv, I have one. Is there any cost to the participants who are in the project?
So yeah, it's a funded, we have funding support. Thank you to the Ontario Trillium Foundation for their support. So we have some funding. So for families who can't pay, they don't pay, but we do charge, I think it's for an 8-week program, it's I think $400. And many of them use their passport funding, which is our direct support service funding. But we do, we always make sure that we get a foundation or a government grant so that we can underwrite, because we don't ever want families to not be able to participate because they can't afford it. And also, like, a civics conversation that only has folks who can afford it is like I wouldn't want to be in that. And so I'm sure they want that same diversity. They want different people, different parts of the city. And so that's, we're very grateful to our funders for making that possible.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. I want to make sure we get back to Emily's question from the beginning for John, Kayla, and John. How long has your program been going on, and how long did it take to grow the program?
This is our second year. The first year was the self-contained model. So this is the first year as a truly inclusion model. And we started with a pretty large ESC population, so it grew pretty quickly. And we're actually, and it's been a very challenging conversation for us as a team, we're really not doing any advertising. As I said, I think in our presentation, we're at about 33% children with exceptionalities in our VPK program. And we're so careful not to go much higher than that and become more of a reverse mainstream self-contained model preschool as a whole. So we've really shut down the advertising for this program, and they are finding us through neurologists, through developmental pediatricians and others in the area, but we're really trying to keep it small.
Thank you. Debbie, I see you have
I have one question. And John and Kayla, and John and Kayla, wonderful presentation. For funding, where have you been getting your funding for this, or do you have funding for this?
So it is private pay. There is a little bit of an additional tuition cost, nothing significant, but about 15 to 18% increase in tuition for the program. And then we do have some donors who help provide support, and we are going through the Step Up for Students Gardner scholarship program to be able to accept that.
Oh, I unmuted myself. Thank you so much. I'm noticing the time, and for those that need to jump off right at I'm doing the math, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Sorry, I'm on the West Coast. I want to make sure that we get in some very important announcements, but I just want to say thank you so much to Liv, Debbie, Bonnie, John, Kayla, and John for your time and these incredible presentations. This style of session is just the first of many. Again, we want to make sure that we are creating spaces for our inclusion professionals across the JCC field to continue to gather, program share like this, and brainstorm out. And I'm so sorry we have such limited time. I just want to thank you all again. I have one super exciting announcement from our JCC Association working team, and then a few ProCon announcements as well. So if you could just bear with me. The first, I'm thrilled, beyond thrilled, to announce that Liv is joining our team as JCC Association's Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility IDEA consultant on a part-time basis. We're so grateful to Harriet Witchin, her executive director at the Miles Nadal JCC in Toronto, for her partnership in supporting this amazing opportunity. And obviously that Liv wants to work with us, so that's just incredibly exciting. Liv's initial goals will include grounding our JCC inclusion work in a set of Jewish principles, which she alluded to during her presentation, and that JCC inclusion staff, leaders, board members can look into guiding their work that way, and it can be proudly shared with community members across the continent. Liv is one of the most respected inclusion professionals in North America and in the Jewish community and beyond, so it's just such a gift to have the opportunity to work with you going forward. Super exciting for us. A few conference announcements, so you know where to go throughout the course of the rest of the day. At 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific, you'll have the first opportunity for enrichment electives. So you can go back to the SpotMe platform, check out the agenda. We have 15 sessions today to choose from. There are several amazing sessions that fall under our inclusion work umbrella. For example, there's one, effective strategies to ensure a culture of belonging for all children. That's Dr. Amanda Clue from the National Inclusion Project today. And then there is another session, the No Silence on Race framework, one JCC's path towards institutional change, and that will be led by Liv and her team at the Miles Nadal JCC. After today's enrichment electives, from 4 to 5 p.m., we have our JCC Excellence Showcase. So there are 2 30-minute speed rounds, and your colleagues will share JCC initiatives in programming, staff recruiting, retention, visionary management, and marketing and media, offering a great opportunity to learn about these initiatives that can potentially be replicated at in your JCC community. You can find the information and links to join those sessions on SpotMe. And a quick reminder that the vendor hall will reopen tomorrow, Thursday, April 29th from 1:45 to 2:45 p.m. Eastern time. You'll have open time with the sponsors again and have the opportunity to ask them questions. Thank you so much for your time with us today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference because this is the last time we're gathering as this inclusion professionals community. So I will just say bye for now. Thank you again to our incredible presenters, and please look in your email inboxes from emails from our working team. We will be in touch with you all very soon. Thank you all so much again, and we'll see you on a screen somewhere soon. Thank you.